AEW had their first themed Dynamite show of the year tonight with Maximum Carnage live from Phoenix, Arizona, which I will say, shout out to Phoenix. That was a tremendous crowd all night. And you wonder why. They were in Dynamite. They were in Phoenix last year, this around this time of year for February, and they came back very shortly for Double or Nothing because Phoenix is always hot when AEW comes to town. So they were a tremendous crowd tonight for what was overall a great show. Was it perfect? Of course not. Still have our critiques. But overall, it was a great show. And what I loved most about it was it started great with Pac and Darby Allin, and it ended amazing with Bandito and MJF. And what matters on these shows is how you start and how you finish. You're going to get your stuff in the middle, you're going to get your mid card feuds and everything else going on. Um, but it's how you start and it's how you finish. So for that, and the stuff in the middle was pretty good too. It wasn't perfect, and like that's kind of like where we'll talk about my criticism and stuff like that. But overall, it was a great show, and I enjoyed Maximum Carnage, and we got a big world title match to talk about, and we got so much cool stuff to talk about. But honestly, and you see the title of the video, um, of this podcast. The biggest thing that happened tonight wasn't even on the show because the news broke during the show, actually, from Sean Ross Sapp and Fightful Select that the Rascalz have officially signed with AEW, and they were backstage tonight at Maximum Carnage. And AEW, right before the main event, they made it official themselves with a graphic on social media that the Rascalz are on their way to AEW. That is Desmond Xavier, aka, if you guys know him by Wes Lee, he's been going as by Desmond Xavier for most of his career. Desmond Xavier, Zachary Wentz, Trey Miguel, and Myron Reed. AEW got all four of those guys. Tony Khan picked up all four of them, and that is a great addition. And I still say it to this day. Desmond Xavier, when he was in NXT as Wes Lee, he is the best NXT North America champion of all time in NXT. And just consistent bangers and going out there and stealing the show and making at points making the North American title feel more important than the NXT championship. And I'm gonna get a little bit off track here, um, but we'll get back to AEW in a minute. But as I go on with this, this comes at the timing of this comes at the timing of TNA having their big um, broadcasting debut tomorrow night, their TV debut on AMC tomorrow night, and they got a couple guys leaving, and you just look at their roster, and their roster is so dull, and it's just like it feels like a sinking ship for a company that was puffing their chest out months ago that they were going to be the number two promotion, and they're puffing their chest out that they sold out the UBS arena for Slammiversary. And you got people like Chris Jericho going on his podcast and saying that TNA looks like a number two company and all this jazz. And you got TNA puffing out their chest that they're this number two company because they have a working relationship with NXT. Meanwhile, some of their best guys just left a week before their big TV debut tomorrow night. Tony Khan in the past week has signed Jake something, who's now going by Jake Doyle, and he signed the Rascalz. And the Rascalz is such a great signing because all of them are fantastic, and there's a lot that you can do with them. They could, they are desperately needed in the trios division. I think they would be outstanding in the trios division because the trios division, it needs challengers. It definitely needs challengers, and it needs a team consistently defending those titles. So it needs challengers. You could put them in the tag team division. You could put Desmond Xavier. You can have him going after, like the Continental Championship or the TNT Championship. You can have him going on a little singles run as well. He is outstanding. And these guys are going to be more suited for AEW than they would be in WWE/TNA. And Desmond Xavier, his in ring work in WWE, in NXT, he never got the chance to get called up to the main roster. And they had him turn on the Rascalz and feuding with Zachary Wentz, and he floated and floated for a little bit, and just really never got up to that next level because they had taken him away from his boys. They've taken him away from the Rascalz. And he kind of just floundered in the mid card division. Never really reached that main event level. Never reached the main roster, which he probably would have never had success on the main roster. But again, it's just what timing. What outstanding timing it is because TNA got their big AMC debut and they puffed their chest out. Number two promotion. Meanwhile, they've gotten bitched over and over again by NXT. That they puffed their chest out that they're with WWE and they're with NXT, and meanwhile they've been bitched for months by NXT. Let's go back to last year in May. Okay? Shawn Michaels books Trick Williams to win the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. So one of their top guys in NXT is holding another company's World Championship. He is the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Remember that TNA versus NXT war that they had in like the beginning of the fall? Yeah, when they had that night where it was just TNA versus NXT, the two big elimination matches, NXT won both times. And this year, just last week, they did Obafemi defending the NXT Championship against Leon Slater. Obafemi wins. He beats Leon Slater. Leon Slater is the X Division champion in TNA, may I add you. Obafemi beats Leon Slater. And at the end of the show, he vacates the championship. So they can't even have Oba put over a TNA talent on the way out, who was on a main roster show just about 2-3 weeks ago when he was on John Cena's final match. He wrestled on the same show as John Cena's final match. So TNA, they had their guys take it from them, and yeah, it's really bad timing for TNA, but it's great for AEW. And AEW getting the Rascalz, they're going to be just fine in AEW. I've seen a lot of tweets saying that these guys are going to get lost. These guys are going to wander in the mid card or whatever. These guys are going to be just fine. Is it world championship material? Probably not. I don't think so. But trust me, these guys are going to be just fine in AEW. You thought Desmond Xavier's work in NXT was outstanding. It's probably going to be better in AEW. I can't wait to see what they do with him in particular. So, but literally, that's the big news on the night. And, congratulations to the Rascalz. And they're all elite. And I'm sure they'll be appearing on Dynamite and Collision pretty soon. Now we can start with the program. Maximum Carnage from Phoenix, Arizona. They did it in a theater in front of 3,000 people, which looked really damn cool on television. And again, it came off super loud on TV. So, shout out to the people of Phoenix, Arizona. So, we had Pac and Darby Allin. First match on the show, kicking it off just like they kicked off Full Gear at the Prudential Center just about 2 months ago. The story going into this one was Pac wanted nothing to do with Darby Allin, but Darby Allin wants to get to the top of AEW, but he cannot do that until he's gotten through Pac. He's gotten through the rest of the Death Riders. The only guy he hasn't beaten is Pac. So he's got to beat Pac. And last week he threatened him by saying he would break his ankle. And these guys are fighting in the crowd and they're going at it. Darby hits a coffin drop off the second stage or the second deck. There we go. The second deck of the arena. Coffin drop onto Pac. And then one of the most sickest, gruesome spots I would say I've ever seen. Pac gives this guy a belly-to-belly suplex onto steel steps. You could just hear the sickening thud that came on the back of Darby Allin. And I swear to God, man, I was in the living room watching this, and my girlfriend is in the kitchen, and I see this spot, and I just shout, "Oh my God!" And she's just like, and she thought something happened to me. So it was so bad, I had to go over to the kitchen and show her what I just watched because I was screaming, "Oh my God," because I thought Darby Allin broke his back. Notice how I never cringe during other people's matches. I just really cringe during Darby Allin matches. But again, the story of the match, Darby fought back through everything. He took a last ride onto the stage. He took a fucking beating in this match from Pac. But again, the story was Darby was going to break this guy's ankle, and there was a ref bump, and then Wheeler Yuta came in with a chair, and Darby took out Wheeler Yuta, and that set the leeway to put the chair around the ankle of Pac, give Pac a coffin drop onto the ankle, and Pac tapped out, and Darby gets his win against Pac, so he's now beaten every member of the Death Riders. Can we move on? Please. For the love of God, it's time to move on. 6 months of Darby Allin versus the Death Riders. Darby Allin just needs a new direction. That's all we need. Then we had Brian Keith going up against Hangman Page. Samoa Joe said earlier in the night that he had to prepare for a trios match to defend for him and the Ops to defend the trios championships, and he said he has set out a bounty, and he's got a bounty who's ready to come and collect. So it was Brian Keith. They had somewhat of a nice match. It was fine. It was nothing special. Big Bill kept distracting. Big Bill was distracting Hangman when he was going to go hit the buckshot. Swerve was right there to be by Hangman's side. Wrapped the chain around Big Bill. Carried him away from Swerve. Brian Keith got distracted. Big boot to Brian Keith. Buckshot lariat. And that was the match. It was fine. It was nothing special. But the biggest story happened after the match with Swerve having his sights, or Hangman first having his sights on Samoa Joe and the Ops. He's going to take everything away from Samoa Joe. So his main focus is Samoa Joe and the Ops. Swerve's main focus is the World Championship. This is when Kenny Omega comes out. Kenny Omega comes out and he says that he's had a wonderful career and he's had so many accomplishments. Multiple time world champion, international champion, tag team champion. I've done everything. But they don't call me the best bout machine for nothing. So I have a lot to prove to myself and to you, the fans. And that's why he's calling his shot to get to the World Championship. And he says he realizes he's got to win matches before he can get that match for the World Championship. And Hangman says, if we have to fight each other to get that top spot, to become the number one contender, I just want you to know with the utmost respect, make the best man win. And you just see in the background, Swerve have this disgust look on his face. Like, what the fuck is this guy doing shaking hands with another person? What the hell? So Swerve gives Kenny Omega a really disgust look. And then the Don Callis family, they come out. And Don's like, there is no way you are going to just jump in line for the World Championship and MJF. We have no association with MJF, but we are going to be thorns of your side forever. And Kenny's like, all right, well, I do need to get a couple wins under my belt before I can challenge for the World Championship. And I want to do that at the expense of the Don Callis family. So he challenges Josh Alexander to a match, and that is going to happen next week on Dynamite in Orlando, Florida. And that's going to be I would expect it to be a great match. I mean, that's a dream match that Josh Alexander has wanted for a very long time. So I'm expecting that one to be a really great match. And Kenny Omega, I think I said it last week and I'll say it again. Kenny Omega versus MJF is a fresh matchup. We've seen Hangman in the ring with MJF. We've seen Swerve in the ring with MJF. Kenny Omega and MJF haven't wrestled since 2023, I believe. I believe it's been since 2023 on that one episode of Collision. But that's a fresh matchup. And that's absolutely a pay-per-view headliner right there. Kenny Omega versus MJF. I'm sold. So I assume, because they do have a show in Australia coming up soon. So I would assume on that show we get a triple threat number one contender match with Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, and Swerve. And that'll be an early match of the year candidate. That match will be, they will tear the house down. Those three guys. So that's where I think they're going with this. We had a four-way match to crown number one contenders for the tag team titles. We had the Young Bucks, we had GOA, we had Jet Speed, and we had the tag team of Mark Davis and Jake Doyle, who just debuted last week. And this was the party match of the night. It was a very fun match. Very fun match. All 8 guys are fantastic. Toa Leona, such a standout in this match. That guy is money. Jet Speed are so underrated. I thought Speedball Bailey was absolutely amazing in the Continental Classic. I had no idea who was going to win this match. But they went ahead and they gave it to Mark Davis and Jake Doyle. And I went ahead and I thought to myself, really? I mean, I knew that, and this is where my criticism comes in, ladies and gentlemen, because I knew last week that FTR came out to interrupt the Don Callis family when Andrade made his return. But you're looking at a situation here where you have this new tag team, okay? And I'm very happy for Mark Davis because since Davis got injured, Kyle Fletcher, his old tag team partner, flourished as a singles wrestler. He's no question singles wrestler. He's going to be a world champion one day in AEW. Mark Davis was kind of just, he was just there. He was just there. And this signing of Jake Doyle has really brought some life back to Mark Davis because now they look similar. They're both great wrestlers. They're both jacked. And they are a powerhouse tag team. And to me, you could have built them up a little bit because this was literally their first match together. And I feel like the dynamic of babyface versus babyface works, but the dynamic of a heel versus a heel doesn't work, in my opinion, because in this example, you have FTR, who are the tag team champions, who are very hateful heels. That we do not like FTR. They have them with Stokely. Stokely is very annoying. So we're supposed to boo for FTR. And then you have Mark Davis and Jay Doyle, who are a part of the Don Callis family. And the Don Callis family are one of the most despicable groups in all of professional wrestling. Don Callis is literally the most hated man in professional wrestling. So, who exactly are we supposed to cheer for in this match? That's what I'm asking. Is, who are we supposed to cheer for in this heel versus heel feud that we're going into for the tag team championships, which I don't expect this match to be on pay-per-view. They're probably going to do this match on Dynamite in a couple weeks. Give it 2-3 weeks, and this will be a championship match on Dynamite. So, really fun match. Just a confusing outcome. We had the Triangle of Madness, Tekla, Julia Hart, and Sky Blue. They went up against Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale, and Harley Cameron. This match was fine. It wasn't bad. But it was a very predictable outcome because I knew going into this that, okay, they need challengers. They need challengers for not only Chris Statlander, but for Willow and Harley Cameron. So they kill two birds in one stone. Tekla pins Chris Statlander, so that should mean that she's in line for a women's world title shot. And the other two, Julia Hart and Sky Blue, I can imagine they're going to get a shot at the tag team titles at Willow Nightingale and Sky and Harley Cameron. I'm sorry. And again, just like the FTR, Doyle and Davis, they're going to be good matches. They're going to be really good matches. I just don't see these matches on pay-per-view, so they will probably build up Statlander and Tekla for a couple weeks. And, I could see that one happening in Australia in about a month. When we get to that Grand Slam show in Australia. I think that match makes sense for that show. So I could see them doing that match there. And obviously, Tekla is not going to beat Chris Statlander. Chris Statlander should hold that women's championship for a very long time. She shouldn't lose that title anytime soon. But, the match was fine. Nothing really to complain about. But what we have here is we have a backstage interview with Jet Speed. And Hangman approaches them. Hangman approaches Kevin Knight and Speedball. And he says, tough loss out there tonight, but I just want you to know that you two are the future of AEW. But I can make that the now because the Ops are defending the Trios Championships on Saturday, and I told Samoa Joe I would take everything away from him. And when I meant everything, I meant everything. So I need to take away those Trios Championships. I want you two by my side. I'm making the match. I'm teaming up with you guys. And Speedball's like, are you serious? And Hangman's like, yeah, I'm serious. So I guess your main event on Collision Saturday night is going to be Hangman and Jet Speed going up against the Ops for the Trios Championships. See what I mean? Where we need help with the Trios division? Because now we have thrown together trios and getting title matches. That's where the Rascalz come into play. They will be outstanding for the Trios division. Not going to go over the Collision card because why should I? But so far next week, Dynamite, we got Josh Alexander against Kenny Omega. That is the only match made official, and I would expect more to be made on on Saturday. Andrade's making his in-ring return against Angelico. We know what's going to happen. Andrade's going to beat him in about 3 minutes. So we had the main event. The main event for the AEW World Championship. MJF defending against the Ring of Honor World Champion, Bandito. And they did some grappling early on. Looked very smooth. These guys make it look easy. And it's just so effortless. And it's smooth. These guys, it's like I'm sitting there and they're only like doing like the simple start to a match, but they're doing it so quick and smoothly. I'm just, I'm kind of in awe watching it. It's just really cool. So we have Bandito on the top rope. MJF trips him up after he tries to hit a move. He just snatches him off the top rope by his head. And then MJF starts mocking the Macarena, which is the dance that Brody King and Bandito did at WrestleDream this year with the arms. I think it's this, and then shoulder, and then you put it on your head, and then you wiggle your hips. That's the dance that they were doing at WrestleDream. And that's what MJF was mocking because, that's what MJF does. MJF's an asshole. But Bandito, he's about to go for a dive on the outside. And I should say, the story was perfect because the story was MJF was going after Bandito's arm to soften him up for his finish, which it worked to perfection. So they had an amazing match and the story was really good. But Bandito goes for a dive. MJF just climbs over the barricade. It's like, I'm not letting this guy get away with it. So Bandito just climbs up to the top rope and he's like, screw it. I'm jumping over this barricade into the crowd onto MJF. That's exactly what he does. This crowd in Phoenix, Arizona went apeshit. And then they're back in the ring. MJF kicks out. And they start doing small packages. Counts for two. 2 for Bandito, 2 for MJF, 2 for Bandito, and then they start kicking out at 1, and Bandito gets a really close near fall at about 2.8. Really close. Bandito, he then later on gets a MJF in a press release, gives him a knee over the head, and MJF's propped up for the 21 plex, which I will say, I love Bandito. He is incredible, but I mean, the setup and the way that setup finisher is, I mean, it kind of does look a little bit silly. It could have a little bit of a better finish. But MJF, by the time Bandito was able to recuperate and recover, MJF kicked out really quickly, and he put in the salt in the earth, changed it to the label lock, and Bandito passed out. See what I mean? Perfect story. He goes after the arm to damage the arm for his finish, and it worked. But here's what happened after the match, and this is where they got me. MJF takes the mic, and he starts putting over Bandito. I'm like, this has to lead to something. So, of course, MJF was bullshitting, and he attacks Bandito, and Brody King runs him out of the ring. I'm like, here we go. Brody King is going to turn right here on Bandito. And it didn't happen. They ended the show with Brody King and Bandito standing tall, which I kind of thought in the back of my mind it could happen because, you know, they were tag team champions for a little bit. They were personally my favorite tag team of 2025. But I'm going to be honest with you guys, Brodito has ran its course. And I think it's best for these guys to be singles wrestlers. So I really thought they were ending the show with a heel turn, but they did not. They ended it with kind of a happy ending with Brody King and Bandito standing tall. So that is your AEW Dynamite review on this Wednesday night, January 14th. And I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Overall, it was a great show. And it was a really, really great show from AEW. But I'm going to get out of here, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the Big Fight Fuel channel. Comment down below your thoughts on tonight's show. Hit the like button if you like what you heard from me. Follow me on Twitter and TikTok, Conlon_Joseph. And I'll see you in the next podcast. Have a good night. Stay safe. And as always, stay classy. And I'm out. Peace.